Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French Workbench Podcast here today on a Tuesday. Got a full studio, and I mean full studio. We got 6 people in here today. I don't know how we're doing it, but we got a nice crew today. I mean, we got a lot of good people. If you guys have not tuned into this channel before, this channel is the most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs here in Las Vegas. I'm your host, Dan French, streaming live from Las Vegas. And if you guys like the content, please hit that like button. Also, if you guys really like the content, subscribe to the channel. That way we can get more people. Show us some support. We're on our way to 1,000, and we're getting close. We're only about 700 away. So guys,
okay,
let's go around and introduce everybody here today. I got Matt Shields back. What's going on, Matt Shields? What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? I set a personal best today.
You did? What'd you do, man?
I closed the deal in 24 hours from start to, with it faster than 24 hours from
Wow.
start to finish. And it had the deal had a lot of hair on it as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
A hairy deal.
I had
Hairy
to wax
client?
that deal.
Yeah, the waxy, baby.
I had to wax it off, rub it smooth, and push it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. So,
So,
you've
that
been
was
shaking and
exciting.
baking, huh? You've
That
been
was exciting.
making deals happen.
Yeah. What happened was it was a luxury high rise. The seller's agent told me something they ought not to have told me.
Yeah.
And I saw an opportunity, and it had to close by 5 p.m. today for the seller.
Right.
Otherwise, they had a $600,000 note on it, and there would have been a
Ooh.
90 grand penalty would have kicked in. at
90
5
grand penalty. Wow.
So we offered on Sunday. I offered 650. No, Saturday. I started at 650 because I'm like, you can get out of this with nothing.
Yeah.
And then we inched up, and then on Monday morning we agreed 695, and then a bunch of liens and other stuff came up.
Yeah.
And mysteriously, well, not mysteriously, because I was like helping to shepherd the situation, and
Sure.
everyone was willing, and we got it done. And
Nice.
so everyone was like,
So what did
really
the
stoked.
seller tell you about that note that you didn't know?
So they told us there was a note, and then I knew that there was a pain point in the seller that I could push, and so I pushed it. I tapped it a little bit, and then I had to like figure out like how, you know, where to go to create value for the seller and my buyer.
Gotcha.
And then we agreed at 695. The seller's now broke, unfortunately, but I covered some of the closing costs, but I made him take 5 grand off the sales price.
Good, man.
And it was everyone was really happy.
So do you ever pull the property's history to find out that kind? Because you said the seller kind of told you. You try to like.
So when you do a prelim, so the title company does a prelim, and when we did the prelim, like an old Lee Pendens came up on the title. So
Liz
Pendens.
Pendens.
Sorry, Lee Pendens.
I was like, what kind of lean is that?
Is it Liz Pendens?
It's Liz Pendens. I think it's Latin. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is it Latin?
Yeah, it is Latin.
Oh, okay. So just blame it on the Latin folks.
So anyway,
You
Which
can
it should just
order-
be notice.
Hey,
That's all it is.
it was
called.
just his accent. I think he said it that
Lee
way. I think it
Pendens?
just.
Oh, is that how the English say it?
Yeah, it's the
Lee
English.
Pendens. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, I think that's how the English.
Oh,
say it.
you know, I'm not going to correct
No,
you.
anyway, it's neither here nor there, but I do know a bit of Latin.
I don't understand English. I understand American, but I try to like brush up on the English.
Exactly. It's confusing for me because I'm half American, half.
Let's go over and introduce. Let's
He doesn't know what he
I'm
is.
not sure. I don't want to hate on myself.
Let's introduce Rich
Pick one
Salas.
today,
Rich,
Matt.
what's up, buddy? How are you today, buddy?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Good, man. So what's going on in your world? How have things been going?
Not nearly as exciting as Mr. High Rise Sale over here, but I did get a listing today, so that made
You
my
got a
day.
listing,
Yeah.
man.
I
Good
haven't
for
gotten-
you.
Yeah, so I am more of a part-time realtor, so I haven't gotten a listing in a while, but I did get a listing from one of our probates that we're handling, so that made my day. It's just a condo, but I'm happy. It gives me something to do. I should, get a nice commission out of it, or a commission out
A
of it.
commission. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So what else is going on? Did you do anything this last weekend?
I did. I had a great Netflix binge.
Oh, you did.
Well, actually, not
What did you
Netflix.
watch?
Well, I finished Dexter. If
Oh,
anyone's watched Dexter.
awesome.
But I finally
That's good
finished
stuff.
it. So, although apparently everyone in the world hated the series finale, which I didn't really fully understand. I didn't really think it was so terrible, but there is a new season coming out in like November,
Yeah,
so I'm all
that's exciting.
yeah. So you can
Cool.
tell I'm very exciting.
More Dexter.
And
Yeah,
you're
so you
supporting-
binge
Very
watched.
exciting person.
And you're supporting Dragon Law Group's hat. I gotta say that if you guys want to talk with integrity of this guy, we do the same sort of thing, right? He's wearing my hat here on this, so he's just a great guy. I highly recommend him because I didn't even have to pay him only like $10,000 to do that. So,
Right?
So he
I
was
wanted to see how I'd look in a hat. on
Well,
the
let's go ahead and
broadcast.
introduce
worn
the
a
rest
hat
of the rest of the crew here. We got a few other people here to introduce. Like I said, we got a full studio. I'm also going to introduce. I'll go over here, Mr. Joe Dragon. What's going on with you, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great, Dan. How are you doing?
Good, man. Just living the dream, as you always say, right?
You gotta live the dream.
I'm living the dream, man. I got a lot of things going on and a lot of projects, but yeah, I'm enjoying my life, dude. I really am.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
What about you? How's the baby dragon?
He's doing great. He can hold his bottle if it's empty.
Good, man.
So that's exciting. Yeah, we're going to San Diego for Labor Day this weekend, so we'll get him on a beach, and
Yeah.
looking forward to that. And
Cool.
living family life, I guess. Yeah, moving on.
Let's go over and introduce Mike Keeler. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm better than I deserve.
Better than you
Ooh.
deserve.
Yes.
What's going on in your life, man? Anything new?
Empty nesting. My wife drove my son up to Reno for his senior year in college. So no kids at home.
No
That's pretty
kids
cool.
at home, man. Good for you.
There you go.
What do you do when
for
What do you
now.
do when there's no kids at home? Like, what is that?
Well,
like, is-
that's
Party.
going to change the rating.
Start drinking. You start drinking, having people over, like,
Start day drinking.
Yeah.
start having some shots. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Stop wearing
awesome, man.
pants.
Jack Daniels for breakfast.
That's
what
awesome.
you need. That's living the dream. Yeah.
All right, and let's also introduce Esmeralda Lucia. Esmeralda, what's going on, girl? How you been?
good. How are you guys? Good to be back, I guess, on a Tuesday. It's
you're
been a
wearing,
while.
You're wearing the Dragon Law Group too. Dude? You influenced everybody to wear your hat.
It's a great hat.
Hey, we're here to support everybody.
Anybody that calls in, I've got box full. Send them right to you.
Right. So let's go into it. Esmeralda, first off, what you been up to? How you been?
I've been great. Actually, I might see you in San Diego. I'm going to be there too.
Oh, you're
for
going
Labor Day
down there?
San
weekend. Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah. What part? Well, I guess there's only one part.
Yeah.
There's Carlsbad, and I guess it's not San Diego. though,
Carlsbad's
so.
not San
You
Diego.
know.
That's
I don't know what I was thinking. It's really just San Diego. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. You got any plans? You can.
I have a whole bunch of people that I wasn't planning. I didn't think they were all coming, but so it'll be a group of us.
You have friends there. Or you guys get in a place. and
I have
just-
friends, but
cool.
I have I have 5 sisters, so some of my sisters
Holy
are.
cow.
Are you from San Diego?
5 sisters.
No, no, I'm a native.
Your poor
Wow.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's get right into today's show. What to expect in today's market? Obviously everybody's out there that they look at this information or they find information online, and a lot of people are doom and gloom. They're about to hear, they think the market's going to crash. We're in a bubble, and we're here to say, well, we're not, and we're not going to go too much into the bubble part of it. But what do we expect here in Las Vegas, and what do we expect in this market overall? It looks like year over year we had an 18% increase in home sale or home appreciation, and so that means homes are selling high. That's the highest. The index is showing us the highest margin that they've seen since 1987, and so prices of homes continue to go up. We've also seen that low rates may contribute to this housing problem as well, because people are pushed into the market because money's so cheap. But we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening. There's a lot of opportunity out there for buyers still, but it's slim. And so I'm going to talk with you first. I'm going to get over here with Matt Shield. Matt's out there in the trenches all day, every day, and he's out there just hammering clients and getting deals closed. What's going on, man? How's life out there?
I think it's better than we've spoken about this like a couple months ago, and when it was white hot, like the market was white hot, and I said this the other week. Now
What
it's
does that
just
mean?
really hot. White hot is like, hot. Like white hot.
Like you mean hot, like HOT hot,
Now
or
it's-
like?
now-
HOT.
Because you said way hot. Like,
Now, I've noticed that you don't have to get over there in 3. I mean, we do, but I would have some buyers, and we would go over there, and they'd be like, "Oh, there's already 3 offers," and it's like the first day. And now, there's a few days, and properties don't have offers, and I think there's some breathing space for buyers. And I've also negotiated money off deals, and Like,
Okay, that's gonna be my next question. So you've gotten them to drop the price.
Yeah,
a bit.
I've got like contingent offers accepted. Like,
Oh, wow.
And so no big deal there. Well, it was a big deal because I got it done, what I'm trying to say is that I couldn't have pulled that off like 2 or 3 months ago.
Right.
Is
You're
what I'm
seeing
saying.
A little bit of a cooling.
A little bit of a cooling.
yeah.
I mean, it's still a hot market.
Yeah,
but
it's a little bit. It's
not the
just
insanity.
really hot, but it's not white hot.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So
you
it's
look.
hot, but not
Hot.
not
So
way
is that-
hot. Okay.
Yeah, it's hot.
Is
Still
that
hot.
healthy then? Because we talked about all this time about, oh, this isn't healthy because prices keep going up and up and you can't get it by. And then it kind of like starts to taper off. But instead of saying it's healthy, we go, oh, here's the crash. So which one is it, I guess, is what we're like. Is every news just negative?
So I in my opinion, like, I don't see, like, something else is going to have to happen, in my opinion, to cause a crash. And because it could just, it could just taper off and flatten out. And then we have a new baseline for affordability for people where some people can't afford to buy a house, unfortunately. And then that could be the new reality.
What would cause a crash, though? Like what's going to single that? Is that
I think like the definition of a bubble is like a commodity that's been unrealistically valued.
I was just looking it up before.
Is that what you just said?
It's a confusing definition. That definition. It's a confusing.
Wait, like
Well, I lost it. It says this: an economic bubble or asset bubble is a situation in which asset prices appear to be based on implausible or inconsistent views about the future. No one has inconsistent views about the future, so no one wants to talk about it. It could also be described as a trade in an asset at a price or price range that strongly exceeds the asset's intrinsic value.
So from what you just said, like, I think people believe that these homes are worth what they're worth, and there's a limited amount of them, and there's a limited amount of space in the valley, and people are still moving here, and so that would lead me to believe that we
But are they
may
really
not be in a bubble?
Well, are they really
in terms of like those real estate assets being overvalued?
Right. Well, I think what's stupid about that definition. Sorry, I mean it's trying
No.
trying to encapsulate something, but intrinsic value. What the heck is that? Well, that's
What do you
value
think?
set and supply and demand, right?
Value
Yeah.
is set by the market, is it not?
Yeah, it's the market forces working to do it. Now, I've said this point before, but I do think when we look at the other real estate crash,
Yeah.
right? The big difference has always been in my mind that if you talk about intrinsic value, houses going up with nobody to live in them, but still being bought, and they're being bought with the idea I could flip this in a year or two and make a bunch of money.
That's
that
not
makes sense to
happening.
me when you talk about artificial intrinsic value.
Correct.
Versus I need a place to live in a nice place, so of course it's going to be high because there's 20 other people that want to live there. They're
Yeah.
willing to pay more than you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like getting the definitions correct. I think is important when you start like, are we on the same page talking about the same thing? Because if you're talking about something else, like, I don't know, all the wheat goes on fire or something and a drought happens that causes a major economic collapse. Well, that's not a bubble. That's a economic catastrophe, which is something different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think you're making a good point, though, about having an idea of what, are we talking about the same thing? And I think that when you say crash, a lot of, basically everyone thinks about the last crash, which is, kind of skews your perception of what an economic cycle is, because the last crash we went through was an unprecedented, basically complete and total meltdown. And it was driven by, as we all know, terrible lending standards, and this out of control real estate bubble, mortgage-backed securities. It affected the whole world. And so when you say crash, I think a lot of people think, 2008. And I don't think that we're going to see something like that. So maybe we shouldn't even use the word crash. Maybe the word we should be using is correction.
Well, and kind of to your point, because economic crashes historically happen every 10 years, right? But that's not what we're talking about with 08, right? Really, historically, in our modern economic society, there's two examples of a major crash. One was in the 1930s, the Great Depression, and one was 08. They're both that catastrophic. But I think they share a common thread, if you look at the two, because, if you brush up on your history, what caused depression, people are going to say, well, the stock market crashed in 29, Black Monday, which it did, right? But it didn't cause that catastrophe. That happened a couple of years later. What happened was banks run off IOUs, and we all know there was a run on the banks. One guy goes into a busy bank, and the atmosphere of it being busy was important, because everybody could see this going on. He says, I've got $1 million or whatever it was in my account. I want $1 million cash. Well, they didn't have the cash. As everybody saw what was going on, everybody else started saying, I want to pull out money, and they didn't have the cash. Now, that's the run on the banks is what led to a Great Depression, because let's say you had $100,000 in your bank account at that time. You go in the next day, you have zero. I mean, you have an IOU, but you have a zero. What is psychologically immediately going to happen? You're going to say, oh my God, can I even eat tonight? Right? So any money that you do have, you're not hiring anybody else to like do stuff for you, right? And that happened to everybody at once. In '08, you had the exact same, well, not the exact same thing, but a very similar thing. And when one day you wake up and your biggest asset or assets is your real estate, your house, and now on paper it's saying it's worth nothing, you're not going to go and start going trips to Disneyland because you're scared. That's what caused the recession. So if you're talking about a catastrophic effects, what I'm looking for is what is something that we all have our money in? What is something that would, if it did go down in value, cause this panic throughout the entire country, not just sectors? So with the real estate, I'm like, why would it go down today when you have so much demand just to live versus '08? I mean,
it comes down to consumer confidence. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not confident that you can remake that same money, and you know what I mean, like if you're working and let's say you're wanting to get into a house or pay for a mortgage, I think that's the issue. The issue is consumer confidence still high, and we see that.
Well, and also, is it really a demand thing going on right now, or is it a supply thing? Because I don't think it's that demand has gone up so much that these prices are.
I think it's
up.
supply.
It's supply.
There's not enough.
There's not.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what's going to.
I know that they're related, of course.
So if you're talking about natural things, it's not concerning if it's simply going up because there's not enough supply. That happens all over. We saw that with wood, which is affecting the real estate market. Yeah. I know Esmeralda, you were saying though that you thought that there's a peak here in Las Vegas, at least, where people here are just simply not going to be able to afford, and what's that going to look like?
In my opinion, I feel like that homes are being so overpriced that we're gonna outprice our first-time home buyers, where they're not going to have that opportunity to actually purchase a home if we continue this way.
And that's tough. It's unfortunate, but
that's part of what's always made Vegas special. I feel like is that working class people here can afford to live there. You know, the way that middle class America did 30 years ago, or well, maybe 50 years.
No, but it doesn't fit into the American dream, right? The American dream for most people is to own a home,
right?
And if we're not able to provide that, then that eliminates that purpose. And even though we're like, oh, that's too bad, you should just be a tenant.
So here's the question, though. The question is, and Mike, you can come in on this and give your opinion on it, is where's the market headed? Because look, we can sit here and talk about doom and gloom and crash and what's going to be the impact. Where's this market headed though now? Like, do you guys see that the market is going to stay where it's at and keep going forward and not have any issues, no hurdles or anything coming up? Or do you feel like we're going to go through not a crash, but maybe a recession? Because people want to know, or I think a lot of people are kind of like want to have this conversation, this camaraderie of, well, what is your opinion on what's going to happen with the market off the data that you know and the things that you go through? I see that the Fed is still purchasing bonds at a high clip. They're keeping rates low. I've seen data out there or articles and things that says that might even contribute to the housing market going up. And so, are we in a bubble? We always talk about that. Is that contributing to it? So is this market like that perfect storm where there's not really any signs saying either direction that this is going to stop and it's going to continue to go up or down? Because as long as rates are staying low and as long as the housing affordability is gone away, but the housing appreciation and prices of homes keep going up, we're going to continue to see the same things we see in this market, right?
Well, as long as people who are buying the houses today can make those mortgage payments, there's no problem. What happened in 2008 is all of a sudden, interest rates were going up and people couldn't refinance the house because the property values were going down. Now everybody's getting fixed rate notes, and you get an affordable mortgage. It doesn't matter what happens to the value of your house. I bought my house in 2008, which was probably a pretty crappy time, but I had looked at the value and I noticed the previous owner lost $250,000. I thought, well, hey, how can I lose money? So I got a fixed note, and it was affordable. And sure enough, my house dropped another $250,000. But I didn't care.
Still affordable.
It was affordable, and I was going to live there long term.
And now it's it all back.
And yeah, I could sell it today for more money than I paid for it. Now, I think for most people who are in that situation, it's going to be just fine. It's possible that some people will lose money when they have to sell a house. Maybe they get transferred to another city, something like that. That certainly happened to me when I had to leave Eugene, Oregon for Vegas. I sold my house. I lost $30,000 on it. It sucked, but, that's just what you do. I don't see a huge crash because there's nothing there like we had in 2008. The math just didn't work back then.
So where do you see this market headed then, Mike? We all agree that there's not a crash looming, and we don't feel that the data out there supports a crash. Again, we don't have a crystal ball, but where do you see the market heading then if you think that there's no crash, Mike?
Everything's cyclical, and everything went up for a long period of time. Things seem to be slowing down. So maybe we'll flatten out. Maybe it will go down for a little bit. But it's not going to hurt people if the housing prices go down. As Merelda was saying, the average American is having a tougher time buying a house now. And, that's turning off a lot of buyers. Maybe things will turn around and they'll become affordable again for people.
I think that if we can have maybe some kind of grants or things like that can help people that are maybe in those kind of circumstances, then that might give them that opportunity.
Probably not a good idea, because whenever the government intervenes, it causes more problems.
Education's a great example.
So,
the more student loans, the greater the cost.
I would disagree with that statement as far as the economy. And let me explain why. This is my view, right?
Yeah.
My view is
I was just talking about homeowners.
Oh, homeowners.
Yeah,
okay.
That's all I was talking
We're
about.
talking about grants, right? Now,
grants.
if you're talking about a grant, here's the problem. Because there's two ends of the spectrum when we're talking about the economy. I don't know, Mike, if you have a different view on this, but there's two ends of the spectrum. One is the recession, and one is the inflation. Okay, and it all has to do with the psychological effect of really we're talking about just how we feel about things is what triggers one or the other. Okay, So when you go into a recession, what did the government do in 2008? They doubled the money supply in literally 9 months with trying to get people money in their hands so they didn't feel so scared, so they go and buy things. It's why we did it in March of 2020, because if you notice the stock market goes down, that's because there's uncertainty and it's just panic, right? So at this point, when they're talking about grants and stuff, I'm like, we keep pumping so much money into this hot economy. That's what really concerns me as far as that we're getting into inflation problem potentially, right? At some point, you just can't just keep printing money. At some point, there's a limit before it just becomes less value.
Yeah, inflation is starting to rear its ugly head, so that's something we got to watch out for.
But you're right, though, because if you get into an inflationary period, right, you can't put any more money into the system. Right, so if somebody was struggling, needed grants, you simply can't do it as the government. To Matt's point, because that would be messing things up, right? Yeah. Because now, it can't do that. It's going to hurt the economy.
That increases inflation even more,
which creates panic. If somebody that does need help, that can't get the money, now they're scared, and then you have the problem of recession. Right, that's how it all falls down on itself.
Well, the biggest problem with inflation is seniors living. They're sitting on a fixed income, Social Security, maybe a pension. And, if costs go up 20%, holy cow, now what do they do? So that's a significant part of our population.
But I feel like inflation's already taking place.
Oh, it definitely is.
For sure. You could see it in gas. You could see it in when you go to the grocery store. You could see it just in your regular.
So another conversation which is after this topic, linked to it, but people have affordability if they can get a property and they get their fixed rate mortgage and they can afford it and they have roof over their head. And if affordability is going to decline, if things are going to flatten out or go up a bit more gradually, and then if we've had an 18% increase in home values in Vegas so far this year, however, there was a 25%.
It's not in Vegas overall.
But
Vegas, it's been even higher.
Even higher. But by increasing the money supply by 25%, that fiat currency should sit somewhere in some assets, be it the stock market or housing or something else or cars.
Yeah.
And so another concern looming on the horizon would be I think affordability is going to continue to go down in Las Vegas. for people wanting to get their first home. But like something else to consider is, okay, you can afford this fixed rate mortgage, but how much is your living expenses going to go up? You know, like what's like your lifestyle is going to get squeezed. I think, and some people, like I consider myself fortunate that I don't have a salary and that I print my own paycheck, and so I can work harder and I can make more money and help more people, right? But someone on like that's making like 60, 80 grand a year and like has one income in the family, or you know, there's gonna be some other pressures coming up over the next year or two for people.
Rich, I got a question for you. You're in the trenches just like he is. Home affordability is a big problem right now, and you look at these grants like Esmeralda brought up. Is that really going to make an impact on buyers? Because I don't feel like it is. It's unfortunate, but we're going to give you the real news on this. We're not going to just sugarcoat it. So,
well, I do think that one of the issues with the home grants is that you know, they sound great in theory, but they come with a lot of restrictions on them, especially lending restrictions that you know, for a lot of people, they're not, when you actually pencil it out, they don't work in their favor the way that you think that they would.
Yeah.
Like what types of restrictions?
Well, and I'm not a lender, so Dan might actually know better than I would, but I know
Would that delay like someone from that would delay that, right? That wouldn't be something that you guys would.
The rates are higher, a bit higher if you get the do you remember we had that grant program about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago? And my experience working through that was that the new clients I got, like I always just speak my mind and say how it is, but like
speak out.
Yeah. But like a lot of those people were stretching so.
We can see you.
Is that better? Go ahead and speak.
Can you hear me
I
now?
can hear
Can you hear me?
All right, is that better, guys? I think that the sound got turned down for a second.
Somebody say sound.
Somebody say sound.
Sound. No sound.
Maybe it's on there
Mic
now.
check. Oh,
Can they
Mic
hear
check.
us now?
Mic check. Can you guys hear us?
Can you?
oh, that's dreadful.
Yeah.
How about now? Hello.
I think
Hello?
everybody. I think it's good now. So I don't know what happened, but we got cut off for a second. So, anyways, going back to it.
So let me tell you, today, I've had this FHA buyer that I haven't been able to do anything with, and we've tried, and then we said, look, let's take a 2 or 3 month break. It's really hot. Why don't you concentrate on your family and working and enjoy the summer?
Yeah.
And then we'll come back. And then so we went back out today because I said, look, it's slowed up a bit. There's some breathing space. Let's go full force again now, and like we're revitalized to get this done. Because it's exhausting trying to get something and you can't get it, and you're having a lot of disappointment. It's exhausting for buyers. And we looked at a couple homes today that looked really nice in the pictures. I knew the area was a bit iffy, but like we're like, let's check it out.
Yeah.
It was super iffy and it wasn't good. And they were asking $220 for those homes, and they were little like ancient shoe boxes built in 1932.
32. Wow.
And next to like
That's scary.
next to like close to like a heavy crime area, like, and it's just like it's not good.
Yeah.
And so the reason I'm saying that is because like I think that's I think that's going to be the new reality for some people if they can't get up over like 220, 230.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it
that
just
the home
sucks.
affordability is gone for here in Las Vegas, but is it across the nation? I don't think. I mean, these programs might work, and these other things might work, with other states and other cities. We're trying to centralize this around Las Vegas
I mean,
as a whole. I mean, so go ahead.
Oh no, I think they'll have to retailor them to resuit the market's needs today for them to work. They just, they were meant for a different market several years ago, and that's just going to have to change if they want them to be of any use to people.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, I look at it and I go, well, I'll be honest. I mean, I'll help people that want it, but I know for a fact that you're up against the wall when it comes to these programs. So where do you think this market's headed? I know we talked about this, and I want to kind of get an idea from each person here. I feel that the market is going to continue to slowly go up. I think the appreciation is going to slowly go into next year, meaning we're not going to be at this heavy, fast-paced, hot market. I think it's going to start to taper down, and it's going to start to, I think about mid of next year, I think it's going to really start to slow down. We're probably going to appreciate 5 to 7% because I don't know what buyers are out there really that are going to keep sustaining this heavy, hot market just for the appreciation on these homes. We're starting to see it slow down now. Do you think this will continue to go into 2022? I think that's the question, right?
I mean, I would hope that it slows down. I would hope it does. A lot of people can't move if they wanted to move and they already own a house because it's too hard it's just too hard. So if it slows down a bit, then I think we may have some more movement there.
Is this an unhealthy market, though? Because I think a lot of people look at this, and there's a lot of information out there that say realtors just try to paint the market like it's just the best thing ever, and it's still a great time to buy, and everybody's got a shot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's some truth to it's still a market appreciating, but is it a healthy or unhealthy market in your perspective?
I mean, it depends how many donuts you have.
Yeah.
If you're unhealthy, you're unhealthy. No, I'm just being silly.
Donuts.
No, it was just a silly joke.
Yeah.
I would say that I don't think it's unhealthy. I just think this is the reality. It's neither here nor there, and it's going to change, but I don't see a big change coming.
Yeah, unhealthy is dropping 10, 20%.
Yeah, as an agent, people say, the agent's this, agent's that. But the agent's only really
somebody. Well, let's say this: if you're an agent out there, though, right? You're an agent.
Can I tell you how agents make money?
I'm going to say this though, real quick.
When things move up or down, that's when, with movement, we can help people. Without movement, they're thinking just like lending in every business that you're going to come up with a biased opinion on. Is it a really good time to buy? I mean, obviously everybody's got to make a paycheck. Yeah.
But
I mean, not necessarily.
But here's where it's at.
Yes, everybody.
No.
But I think you got to look at is this beneficial for both sides?
I hit some hard stuff.
Right? If you come up and you got somebody that comes up to you and says, you know what, where's this market headed, Matt? Where's it headed, Rich? Is it heading to where I'm going to have an opportunity to buy a home if I'm a buyer that's, I'm struggling to get into a house? And you're like, well, it's better to buy than not buy. I think a lot of people don't know, are they getting the real information from real estate agents and from just people out there in the market,
I mean, I would say that probably 90% of people aren't getting real information because 90% of agents are idiots. And so
Ouch.
Rich?
No, but that's the reality. That's the truth, unfortunately. 10% of the agents probably do 90% of the business.
Yeah.
And so I would say that I would say that coming back to affordability, if you need somewhere to live and you can afford it, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I think it comes down to necessity. But I mean, it's got to have both sides. It's got to be a win-win. It can't be
it doesn't have to be a win-win.
Well, let me explain. If I'm out there and I'm talking to somebody, right? And I'm like, you know what? Look, okay, I'm a realtor. Obviously, I'm going to give you the points of why you should buy. And then I'm going to give you the points maybe why I would reconsider buying at this time if you're really into that. Now, if a person's on the fence and they don't have a lot of money, or let's say they're just I don't know, I'm waiting for this recession. Hey, then that's fine.
Scratch.
Go, you're out, right? But I think there's a point where would you ever tell the facts and say, make the decision yourself? Because there is some people that have to buy a home, right? They do. It's a primary home.
I had a guy, I sold him a house in December for like 1.3 million, and then he called me up and said, I got $1 million, Matt, I want to put it in some houses. And I'm like, no. I said, no, I don't, like, not here. And I thought about that for like a day, because I was like I could make a commission, I know I could do it like really quickly, and then but the relationship
But you're only getting one house.
But the relationship is better. Having the relationship is better than making a transaction.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah,
So
that's true across
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
business.
Yeah,
That's,
but
It's
I'm
true.
just saying, like, if I would have been self-centered, I would have said, oh, here's like 3 houses for 300K.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I was like, I don't. And I wonder that now.
Why? Though why? What
Why?
was your
Because the
feeling
yields are
behind
horrible.
that? Okay.
The yield,
What, was he
like,
gonna hold rentals. Or?
yeah,
Okay.
like the yields are terrible, and there's way better areas to like do
Invest in like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, so
In
I
different
didn't,
states, you mean?
you know, but there's a dude for the lots, that guy. Oh no, the lots, the fire damage. lots.
Oh, they were talking about last
Yeah,
week. Sorry.
yeah. Sorry,
Sorry, your
that was
English
my bad.
accent threw me off.
Sorry. So here's the thing: is that like, you know, I don't take it personally when people talk about like agents this and agents that, because it's a human element, and you got to make sure that you got the right elements in the equation for your personal interests and your attitude to risk
Correct.
and money and your necessity for shelter. And it's not always win-win, unfortunately, but
No, it's not.
It's not. It's just not.
I've done loans, and I'm doing one right now where somebody came to me and was like, you know what, Dan, I want to do a loan with you, right? And they went and they found another lender that's the same. And so they ended up coming to me. And the difference is on this situation, I'm not getting paid on this deal, right? And that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to get paid on every deal. Obviously, you want to. But the reason
helping them.
I'm helping them. And why am I helping them? Because you know that down the road, when they try to find a house or they talk to somebody that they
Yeah.
know, it's a similar thing with credit or anything
Yeah.
else. You're supporting that. And I think even when you're giving the right information and you're not biased towards a specific direction, I think that's when you really develop a relationship.
Establish trust.
Establish trust, you know, and I think that's a thing right now where we see this market heading to a position where it may be tapped out. I mean, we may start to see this thing. I'm not saying that it's not going to continue to go up, but
I hope it taps out.
yeah, it may be.
Like I actually do. But then another concern I have is, I just thought about this earlier, was we're in a growth period in Las Vegas. There's still dirt and land. There's
No water.
I don't know. We had the guy in the water. We had the guy talk
said
about
no
the
water.
water. Hopefully he was telling the
alcohol.
truth. You don't know. Because I thought about that water interview we did. I don't think the water district would say if there was a natural problem with the water. If there was a problem.
well, they're not going to put public out there
No,
of
because
information
it's
that's
going
going
to crush
right,
tax revenue
right.
on real estate.
right.
You know, for the whole for
I
the
think they already did tell us there's a problem.
no.
Well, they're saying there's a drought, but what he's saying is that we're
It's
not going to have.
fine.
Yeah, it's still in a good place.
Yeah.
Like we're not in a. Everybody's worried about it, but I mean,
It's not actually affecting
it's-
our day to day or our real estate
They
prices.
said we've
or
got
market.
plenty of leeway to be okay.
correct.
You know?
And they're looking at other sources.
Right,
And
and they can start cutting. They can start cutting water to California.
So what is the average buyer out there if they're looking at this market? What do they look at?
I was just
mean,
making more of a general,
Yeah.
but I appreciate the specifics. Continue.
What are they looking at in this market? Like if you're out there and I think it's like, you know, people want to know where is it headed mostly, and also is it a time to invest in this market? Is it time to or even wait, or should they wait till 2022, or do they think that, you know what, this market's going to go and maybe retract, you know, 10-20%?
I would say that the affordability train is leaving the station, and if you think you might want to do something, get on the train. Just get on the ladder.
Well, yeah, and then
especially if you're not on the ladder and you don't have a real estate asset yet.
well, and then back to Esmeralda's point: is this market going to get priced out? On the one hand, I totally see the point because Vegas isn't, you know, beachfront property in, you know, up the coast of California or whatever.
Yeah.
However, it's still growing in as far as its appeal. We've talked about this before, just the way it's redone the city, the way it's trying to attract a lot of people here. And then I think, well, they said the same thing about California. I got a good friend who just got, he got another job, a military job out in L.A. So go out to L.A. and he's looking at housing prices. I'm like,
Holy cow.
So what did they? I almost think about $4,000. What are they asking for rent? And he's like, between $3,500 and $4,500.
Yeah,
they don't care.
It's crazy.
Like either you pay it or they don't. And L.A.'s still there doing its.
Yeah.
I don't know how. You look at the
it's
economics of that city. I have no idea, but it's still doing it.
It's the new reality that's going to come to Vegas.
Well, and in LA, it's expanded so much. You've got the Inland Empire, you got Palmdale, Lancaster, and people are commuting 2 hours each way, and that's,
Well,
that
I mean,
could happen
at
here.
some point it will connect. I mean, I feel, maybe not in our lifetime, but don't you think that Vegas and California, it's really going to be, there's a lot of desert in between.
Oh, certainly.
But
There's
few
plenty
hundred
of
miles.
space for houses
There's
all
so
the way
many
to,
space out there,
to
right?
Brim,
Yeah.
and all the way to Mesquite.
But that is when you're talking about water. It really is. Like there's tons of desert wasteland. There's a reason why the cities are where they are, even though they're in deserts. Is because there wasn't access. Vegas originally, before the Hoover Dam, was that the Colorado was still right there.
Yeah.
Right. You couldn't go in the middle of Nevada and do that. That wasn't possible. So there is a reason they are where they are, and you can't just unlimitedly go continually out into
One
wasteland.
thing about Vegas too, and one
Correct.
thing about these things that we're seeing is construction and how they're somewhat preparing for all this the new people that are coming here to move here. They're always in the works of like expanding. They got roads getting bigger. It just seems like they're ready and waiting for the growth because of what's going on.
And I would actually say all of Southern California is there because of the aqueduct. They didn't have enough water for it. They just piped it in and steal it all from Northern California.
Yeah,
So,
Mulholland
I
built
mean,
that
I mean,
thing.
I do think.
But now I think that thing's only like 3% of their water.
Okay.
Originally.
So I stand corrected.
So because it's a big thing going, just get rid of it at this point.
Right.
That's a whole other thing because it's not like. But you're right. I mean, it's like the Romans had this problem, right? That's why they built that. There is limits.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not. I'm
limits.
not
There's
saying
limits,
water is
right.
going to be like a overall. It's going to stop us, but you can't just simply build anywhere like you can in the east.
Just
you can
reroute
put town
the
anywhere.
Mississippi.
What's that?
Just
You know
reroute
what?
the Mississippi.
That's what I was thinking, like a
over
big
here.
like pipe.
Yeah, that's
Big
that
pipe.
sounds
Yeah, I
easy.
think someone else
The
had
thing
that
is,
idea.
if more people are just, there needs to be some big change for there to be a change, and there's nothing that's going to change what's going on locally. I don't foresee it.
Well, I think there's going to get to a point though where, let's say you are moving from another state and prices do continue to rise, even though they slow down. Is there a point, like you were talking briefly about it, you need to be a 2 or 3 income family now, at least 2.
People are going to, Americans are going to have to get used to living in smaller homes. Like,
No, we don't do that.
I know you don't, but like,
I'm buying a smaller car.
Toll Brothers the other
just
week
move
bought
inland.
Storybook homes, and so Toll Brothers is like the luxury big home, luxury like Mercedes Benz of like American home builders, and they bought Storybook Homes, which was a local builder that makes little stucco boxes, and that people live in. And the reason, my theory is the reason Toll Brothers did that is one, it was to get more land, but also, I think things are going to shift to like
They need
smaller
to
homes. Like
diversify.
you go up to North Las Vegas, D.R. Horton, like the homes are ugly.
Yeah.
Like they're small, androgynous, and all blended together, and like still expensive but affordable. But
So-
you don't get much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you need to do that in a place like this? I mean, they're probably just doing it because they can get more
Make
bang for
money,
the buck,
make
whatever.
more
But
money.
But even here,
but in that
Money.
sense,
no, but even here,
There's
there's
land
still
is
plenty of room. We're not.
affordable.
No,
we're not
there
on
is.
a-
There's huge
There's
tracts of
plenty
land.
of room.
We're not
But
on
there's-
Long Island,
But if we
right?
continue how we're going, is there like 5 years worth of room? I think so.
Well,
Yeah, if you can get the
listen,
water.
But here's
I think
the
that's-
You can get the
here's
water.
the question. The question is the average home buyer going to be pushed out? Because I think what I'm trying to go at is you're looking at people that are they going to be able to afford homes if it doesn't stop? And that's the question.
You know what? You got to rephrase what you just said. The average home buyer is not going to get pushed out because there's going to be a new average home buyer, and that new average home buyer is going to have to make more income.
Right. It's a
And so
2 to 3
there's just
family.
there's just
Right.
a movement.
And then there, I would say even if you look just taking California for example, there are people there who, yes, and of course they do make more money, but they don't necessarily make twice what say their counterparts here.
they
make.
don't. They
But
make
their
about the average the
mortgages-
same.
But their mortgages might be twice, and
Yeah.
so they take a different approach to what they spend their money on. They just
Yeah.
go, well, you can't get a house for less than 600 grand. So I just know I'm
That's
not
what it's
gonna
gonna
buy a
be.
new car this year.
Yeah.
We're gonna have the mortgage payment. You're not gonna take off from work when the second kid's born. You're gonna go right back as soon as maternity. They have a different approach, and we may have to do that. The thing though that I do wonder about us though, because Vegas is different than a lot of cities, is we have our casinos and we have lots of working class people here. There's only so much their incomes can go up, and they're our biggest part of the economy. So what does that do to us? Because we're not like a lot of other cities.
Well, and on that
you can't
point,
just have all doctors and lawyers move in.
and on that point, when 08 happened, two of the biggest cities in the country that were devastated the most were Reno and Las Vegas. And it doesn't really have to figure out why, because Vegas, that sells entertainment, if you're on a tight budget, you're not flying out to the Luxor and throwing a bunch of money. Well, unless you're like, I'm over it.
It was Florida,
Like,
Florida and Nevada were the biggest states. That were
Florida,
hit.
that's another entertainment state.
You don't
like
go on
Orlando
vacation.
is one big theme park.
Yeah.
That's
And so are we, just for adults.
Yeah, same idea. So we have the best swing ups because when people do get money, they love to spend it on entertainment, and the most severe crashes. We're the first one out of somebody's budget.
Yeah, but is it going to be such a separation? I mean, we see it already in the money supply, right? There's like 1% that makes, most of the money, I believe, right? Something like that, where there's a huge separation and it just keeps getting worse. We look at the mom and pop shops that are doing, primary, let's say business owners. Is that separation going to be so far that the only people, like he said, that are going to be able to buy a house are people that are making, really large amounts of money,
But I guess what I think what Rich is saying, if that's true, why is it that LA has the same amount of average income than we do, and yet people still buy and own houses?
Because home affordability is better here still, right? That's what I
But no,
believe.
the point is we have the same amount of income coming in.
Right.
Yet
but
some
the
people
homes are not the same quality and they're old.
of course not, but they cost way more. They cost way more.
Yeah, but you also know that in LA, just like in Hawaii, there's a lot of people that live with each other. There's families that live with each other.
So
That could be
generations.
Right, but I guess what you're saying is if this can't sustain itself because it's not possible, but that's an example where it is possible.
Right, but I think that's part of why people are becoming so unhappy living in these places where they are.
Of course, I'd be unhappy.
Like,
what we would say.
Well, that's why they're
having
retreating.
Population growth, and they're having a population.
Well, not unless you live by the beach and you have
yes,
a
but then
home.
your money probably isn't too
And-
much of a concern.
And me personally, I've always lived, except for when I lived in Idaho, on this line between California and Nevada. A lot of friends, whatever, and I've never ever seriously considered moving to California. As soon as you start even getting into any of the numbers, you're like, I don't even get how you're here. Like honestly, in my head, I don't understand. And maybe it's just a culture because if you lived in that, you're used to being this much in your margin, but here you're not. I'm used to having a much more comfortable margin, and I'm not willing to give that up. But then, do you have to because you're forced out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, until I was 30, I never lived more than 10 miles from the coast for the first 30 years.
So
of my life.
you're used to it, right?
But it also wasn't this. I mean, things weren't as out of whack then. I mean, it slowly over time grew more and more out of whack, and especially in the last 20 years in California.
But the quality of life, I mean, it takes half an hour just to get to the grocery store. I mean, traffic is.
And once you get to the
nuts.
grocery
To
store,
get to
that
the
coffee's
airport.
$6, and that's even visiting it. I'm like, this is killing me.
I know.
Just visiting it, right?
But
Like, how do
there
you?
is something about that.
I mean,
If it's your home.
Yeah, I go
if
visit my
it's,
parents. I'm going there in 2 weekends.
Yeah, no.
And I'll
You can't
be
go
able
surfing
to.
at Lake Mead.
I'll be sitting out on the patio drinking a beer in the evening. Well, and it's going to be a nice, 70 degrees out there. But as soon as you try and go somewhere, holy cow, there's too many people.
Yes.
And it doesn't
Very
get to be
congested.
117
Yeah.
degrees.
I
There
mean, people
too.
complain
you're-
about rush hour here. It's not even an hour long.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Come on.
when does somebody become where they feel like they're going to be mortgage broke? I think a lot of people are looking at these homes, and we look at the direction. We're asking where the market's at, and when does somebody feel that what? And is it like 50% of if I'm getting
Well,
if I need
I mean-
a payment?
Well, Mike said that the
depends
other
if
week.
they-
Wherever
Like
the
what?
mortgage company will still give
38%
you
is
the
the
loan,
absolute
right?
max,
It
right?
depends if they make poor choices with their partners.
That took a turn.
I had
That
an
took a turn.
opportunity. I went to a party on Saturday, and there was this girl there, and she's a cocktail waitress, and they were like, "Do you like her?" And I'm like, "Yeah, she's attractive, but I just would never go out with the cocktail waitress."
Is it? Yeah, because well, let me say this.
Because of the psychographics.
A little sexist of you, I would say.
Not at all.
Just give me a hard time.
So
Just give me a hard time.
I was just being conservative with my energy.
Well, we got a question here.
Is it about Matt?
Hey.
Hopefully it's about Matt.
Yeah, no, I mean, running at altitude.
Anyway, sorry.
He's saying looking at.
But,
Wow.
like-
I've never heard of that statement.
I
Okay.
don't know.
What did you say, Mike? Go ahead. What is
So
that question?
so running at altitude said, looking at unemployment, rent, and income, do you think the Vegas market is overvalued? I think it is. I think it's very expensive for the average.
Overvalued
person
for someone that makes money here and is on a fixed income.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
you know,
But that's
considering-
affordability,
Right.
you know, and that sucks.
Well, does it come down to though what somebody's thinking they can afford? You know, what
Well,
I mean,
I
is it affordable or not? Is it okay to still buy in this market, even though, like I said, it's
So, like,
If
say,
you can afford it, it's fine to buy.
I agree.
Well, we do
I
have a
agree
lot.
that your market is where if you could afford it because
We have a lot of things going for
Yeah.
us, though. Too.
if
Yeah.
the market
Yeah.
crashed and you didn't have a job, it's irrelevant.
now the other thing,
We got Rich.
Another
we got
way-
Matt.
No, so
We
something,
got Dan. All hair.
So look at what's happening. Look
We
at what's
have
happening
Matt.
as well in Vegas, right? So we got World Resorts Open. You've got the $2 billion MSG Sphere, which is the smallest, most expensive building to be built in the world because of all the high tech stuff in it.
It's like a football.
And
Yeah.
then you got Fontainebleau is planned to like go.
Yeah.
And
Is it?
we got
In
cool
Miami
big
it
stuff
is.
here.
yeah, but the question is,
So like in Miami, it is.
the question
Yeah,
is,
this
it's not
one's
that
not
we don't
moving.
have stuff. The question is this market overvalued for rents, unemployment, income? Is it just starting to get too far gone?
I think
Well-
we should lose overvalued and just say like new reality.
I think one
I
of the
think that's
problems
better
is-
approach because I don't see why it's going to change.
And with his point, though, I mean, because we are an entertainment service kind of city, casinos going to need cocktail waitresses, right? They need all their people to do what they are,
Yeah.
and those people need to live. So is that going to cause salaries to go up?
That's what I was.
How
just-
is how
If
else are they
they
going
can
to do it?
hustle,
That was. Yeah.
yeah, but do you
No,
think?
I'm talking about
No,
the.
incomes will start to rise.
my
as a
God.
product.
Yeah, but
What
at
else are they
at
gonna
base-
do?
Listen though, they're not going to rise at the pace of these homes rising.
No.
But if I
No.
need people working for me, I need to fill that quota.
Can I say
It's my
something?
whole investment.
Listen, on that topic, like I normally eat lunch like out
You
during
eat?
the week, and then
Where'd you go?
There's different places. I've got like a little circuit. Like, so the restaurants are having an import that like they're closing because they don't have staff in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Because the casinos can't find staff, so they're offering $2 or $3 or $4 more an hour. And so all like the kitchen staff and the staff in these like mum and pop restaurants are losing all their staff and they can't function because everyone's being sucked into the strip. And so
Well, it's not just that. The unemployment benefits have been encouraging people to stay at home.
for sure.
And now that is stopping, people are going to be going back to work. And I think the restaurant,
Hope so.
I have had the same experience in the restaurants. It's like, holy cow, half an hour, where's my dinner? You know?
'Cause they're understaffed.
Oh, they are. And I'm totally understanding it, but it's just, wow, I didn't plan for this.
No.
And,
yeah.
but,
So
you know, as you know, I think a lot of landlords are going to be kicking people out soon.
So I got a client that good, hardworking, worked his ass off to stabilize. He is works in the kitchen at a strip restaurant, makes like $18 an hour. That will get you like an approval up to like $230,000 without an HOA. Those people don't have a lot of maneuverability to increase their income by like $3 or $4 an hour.
Sure.
So like that, like with a bit more movement, they're toast. And that's really sad.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the new reality. And then I've been driving around town like over the past few years and I see new apartment complexes pop up because people are betting that this is the new reality and it's, you know, that's just
People are going to be forced to rent.
you're going to have to rent.
I think this is cyclical too. You see
sucks.
apartments come and go all the time. You saw a lot of apartments being built in the early 2000s, and then they converted to condos.
That's what I was just going to ask. If you think, do you think some of these new apartment buildings are going to start condo converting?
I don't think so right now, because right now rents are high,
But-
and so they're making some good money.
But also, like, so what's different now is hedge funds are double black belt into real estate now.
That's the one thing that
and
is different.
They're not going to want to give up the assets
Okay.
because
They just wanna rent.
they want to keep that asset.
Yeah.
But like before,
Well, they also like the income.
they like
I mean,
the income, but
it's a nice
it's a
income
yield-based
producer.
sort of business model. But the other thing is that, you know, back in the bubble that crashed, right? Not saying that we're in a bubble, not saying there's going to be a crash.
No, I
now,
think a lot of
but,
people like
before
thrive on that.
people like split up all the apartment complexes because the hedge fund money wasn't savvy then, and it wasn't all like integrated into like real
They just had a
estate.
bunch of partial interests owning.
You had a
the-
bunch of like private individuals and not like Wall Street companies like Invitation Homes or.
So people are going to be forced to go into apartments. You know, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, or they have been, right? There's a lot of people out there that are doing that, right?
Yeah,
And so
it's unfortunate.
it is unfortunate. And you talked about inflation over there, about that's going to be a problem. What happens if they raise rates, right? What if they raise interest rates, and let's say now the average price of a home's $500,000? Even an eighth of a point, that could jump your payment up, you know, $50, $75. I mean, at some point, if we go up
that and because you made the point,
Yeah.
paycheck to paycheck. This is what's happened ever since we went through this pandemic. One, like you said, people have been giving, the government's been giving like the stimulus stuff, and that kind of went to everybody, regardless of your income, right? And
No, they had phase outs.
yeah, but it was high. It was a high.
No, it
like,
was high. It
When
was
you're
high.
like
It
that
helped a lot of
high
people who
up, and
really
you're like,
probably didn't
when you
need it.
got $1 million in your bank, you're
Yeah.
like, thanks for the $5,000. Like, that's, but for somebody like that's a big deal, right? But anyhow, and I don't know what your biggest demographics are for people purchasing houses, but we've had a situation where people haven't made a student loan payment since March of 2020. That comes out January 2022. All of a sudden, you raise interest rates on that, and now your spending power.
Is it the forbearance is over January 2022?
Yeah.
that's what I mean. They could kick it down the road again. I mean, they kept
Probably.
extending it, but
The only way they can kick it is at some point, those investors are like, well, you're going to pay me the money to the government, right? Like, what are you going to give me for this? But my point is, you have interest rates that could go up. You got cut off of stimulus checks. You've got a lot of people in their 30s have student loans, not everybody, but a lot.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden your spending power just went from right now, if you can get a house, right? If you have all those kind of things in your life in January, you may not even be able to do it. If the real estate keeps going up, you just simply do not have the ability to do it. Like, no matter, it's not a decision anymore. You can't. It's like, I want to buy $1 million pool, but
Well, or you can
mean,
do it,
like,
but
I
you
can't
have
do
to,
it.
You're going to have to reconsider what you can get for your money. That that may be
think,
it too. You're going to have to lower your expectations.
I may have to
of
get
what
my
you can
law
get.
license and just start suing people.
yeah.
well, let's talk about this part of it. So you're looking at it from a buyer's perspective. What about a seller's perspective? Like, I know the market's going to continue to go up. Has the sellers missed their chance to maximize their profits in this market? And is it going to stabilize now? And now there's like, you know,
I don't think they missed their chance. Like, I've seen
I don't think they've
homes
missed
that
their
are good looking still going swiftly. I have a listing right now that I'm not getting a lot of showings on. It's priced effectively, but it's in the Northwest and it's across the road from that other house I sold recently for 1.2. So I think there's a slowdown, but good looking homes are going to continue to go. Like, I mean, if your home's
yeah, but
good
where do you go after that, right? I think that's the question too. Like, well, I'm going to sell my house, and did I miss the boat?
So some people I have that would sell but can't would sell but won't because they can't find a nice place that is like
That can make it out.
That's like the
That's
biggest
the real
issue.
they
issue.
can't find a nice
Why
place that's
sell?
smaller. And then
can't
like
find-
I got one client that they bought the place for like 700. It's probably worth for $1 million now. They want to downsize, but like to downsize, they're going to have to spend like 700 for something like 2/3 of the size with a pool, and it just doesn't make sense. And, and it's going to be like such a shit show to coordinate. And
So then they're
not
just
going to feel
stuck.
happy about it.
They're stuck. This
They're
market,
stuck.
how long will they be stuck? Are they ever? I mean, because I look at it like this, man. I don't feel that the market's going to reset and start to go down, and we're going to depreciate 20% or 10%. I just feel it's going to just kind of like level off a little bit, and it's going to kind of be stagnant. But then it's going to be very slow. Maybe because of the pandemic last year is why people had a lot of time to focus on buying a house. It just seems like last year was really a banner year for a lot of people making money and doing what we do. And I don't see it going into this year and next year.
What a crash.
I mean,
Not a crash, just
Or
the
the-
activity and the consistency of buying homes.
I have no idea what anybody else thinks or how they handle this, but I bought my house early 2019. Here we are 2.5 years later, paid $330 for that, put $40 down on a 20-year loan, and now I've got basically 100% equity from what the principal balance is in the mortgage, right? So I mean, I guess I'm stuck. Yeah, I'm stuck, but I'm stoked because I'm not in this mess of other people trying to buy. And for me to lose money on this thing would have to literally crash by 100.
Twice.
It would have to crazy. I mean, but if it went down for me losing money on this, the world is in a state of catastrophe, right? We're in a huge problem, right? Because that's the only way that's going to get there, right? So I don't know what other people think, but I could imagine that if you do have a house, you're not really motivated to get into this buyer's market, right? Even if you get a better, unless you got a really crappy place. But I don't know.
Maybe more. It sounds an awful thing to say, but like things always change, and maybe people are going to start dying. Like baby boomers are getting older.
Yeah.
And that'll be a change.
Yeah, but they can pass that house if you're smart. You're passing it.
There's still going to be movement. Like
but
I
then
said,
they'll
we need
sell
movement.
it after,
Oh, you'll pass it to your children.
like-
and then they'll sell it.
Like
and I
Rich
don't.
got
By
that
the way, I don't
condo
want anyone to
probate.
die. I don't want anyone to die, but like things are going to change, and we're all going to die.
I don't want anyone to die either. However, my
know?
business is dependent on death.
Yeah, I know it's awful. It's deadly serious.
It's deadly serious.
Yeah.
No, but I think you're looking at this market and you look at the seller side of it, and so we're all in agreement. I don't know if everybody's in agreement, but I feel that the market is going to slow down.
I hope so.
Are we still going to have buyers though coming from out of state at this same clip? You know what I mean? This is a high clip we had last year where, man, it was like a transition that we never seen, not just from California, everywhere.
Well, I think we were undergoing, I don't know how else to put it. It was last year was very strange days. I don't think that we're going to recreate those circumstances again. So I don't think there's anywhere for it to go but down. It was a frenzy. It was a very strange time. Lots of unusual circumstances that drove the market.
Do you guys think this is an unhealthy market or it's a healthy market? I mean, I think it's an unhealthy market. Why? We don't have supply.
I think it depends on who you are.
Yeah, I don't
I
understand
would
the question.
Say that, I think it's healthy in the sense that, like,
Properties are selling.
I mean,
I guess that's
I don't know.
healthy.
It's a
They're
tough
not-
question. Like, I'm pretty like hardcore, and when I say like I'm aggressive, but like polite in business, and I'm fortunate that I have the faculties to always be okay, and I always have been, and I can't worry about whether something's unhealthy or not because I'm healthy and I'm gonna eat, and my family's gonna be fed, and my clients are gonna get helped. So like, from a buyer perspective, it's not unhealthy if you're approved and you got a bit of extra cash, but like we go back to the affordability thing where I think we're just experiencing a change, and this is the new reality, and you got to pull your socks up if you want to own a house. And whether that means figuring out a way to earn more money, figuring out a way to get into a house, like somehow, and buy it.
What's the median price for a house right now?
400.
Okay, 400. So I find this
400K.
interesting because the median price in LA is 923. However, LA has not experienced this steep incline that Vegas has. It's still gone up, but it's actually kind of on a dip right now.
Well,
which
nobody
is
wants to
interesting.
move to
But
LA.
also, too,
nobody
when-
wants to move there because the cost is so high, the taxes.
Yeah, but unless what I'm saying, if LA dips, which in the last month it has, so don't get me wrong, it's not like a major dip, but it has dipped down from the 923. Then, if what's that saying is that it's not LA's not shooting up. I never see, because you said 400, right? LA's 923. There is no way that Vegas would ever surpass LA. Probably ever get another 25%.
No
LA
way.
is kind of
No way.
controlling that, right? So if you want to look at an idea, if LA was like 1.2 million, I'm like, this thing has a lot more room to get up high.
Right.
But right now, you're always going to be capped by Southern California. Vegas is never going to surpass it. It's
No.
not possible.
No.
Just unless
No,
they
it's
keep
not. It's
unless they
not.
don't do the recall.
And Joe, was that was that the median or the mean?
Says median.
Median. Okay.
Oh, I should have get the mean. That's what I wanted.
All right,
No,
so
the
let's-
median's really more.
So
the median
here's a
really tells
question
more,
for
'cause
you.
The mean, it's always
yeah.
pulled up by incredibly high priced homes.
So say
the
you-
median's
Yeah,
really better.
yeah.
Say you had
But-
an investment property, a rental, and I mean you're thinking of cashing out. Is now a good time to do it? Do you think?
I think that's a personal life question. Like, what's going on in your life? Do you need the money? What are you going to do with it?
Well,
If
say you're
If
kind of
it-
considering, okay, I'm thinking maybe now's a good time to cash out of it. I don't necessarily need the money. So I've had 2 clients sell rental properties recently, and they kind of looked at, well, the capital gains tax is low right now. It's going to go up. We all know that. And the market's, nice and high. So why wouldn't I sell it right now?
Well, there's always, I think there's a number of considerations there, though, too. Kind of like how much, what's your carrying costs on the property? How highly leveraged are you in it? Are you making, what is your, what is your, the return on your investment per year? Are you bringing in good income? Do you need that income?
And then also, Mike,
Yeah.
did those people get crushed by tenants not paying their rent?
In this case, no, they did
Okay,
not.
good for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a customized, like, it's individual, like, decision making, but.
Well, no, I would say
no, but I'm saying what I'm saying is
Decision-making.
I couldn't answer that not knowing like what's going on in their life and stuff. But at the end of the day, as an agent, all I do is just present the facts of the situation
Right.
as I see
So
them.
they had asked me, and I said, well, if you're really, tired of being a landlord, this is really an awesome time to do it. I mean, because of the capital gains and the real estate market, now's a great time to sell that rental. People are looking for those.
I've always found it interesting that people that do get some really good investments and make a lot, how many just don't cash in? I mean, for like years. And it's kind of like at some point, like,
There's a mindset though where they never will.
yeah, but at some point it's kind of like, why do you even talk about this all the time? Why do you even care? Because you literally just got a piece of paper and you die with this piece of paper and you're obsessed with this piece of paper. I mean, for me, it's kind of like, at what point,
It's personal.
at what point do I say I kind of want to do something with what I invested? And
Well,
I don't know. So it is personal, but
Well,
it's kind of
look,
interesting.
let's look at it like this. I think there's a lot of people out there that are uncertain, not just about buying a home, just about everything. And they're evaluating things over and over again. I've had clients call me, and they're like, Dan, I want to buy this investment property. And then they call me the following week. Same person was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to put myself in this position, and
It's investment, it's risk.
well, look, at the end of the
Scary.
day, I think a lot of people just don't know. And they don't know what's the right decision or what's the wrong decision, or, where they really want to be. They're just trying to speculate. I mean, some people have a game plan, but like, is it right? Is it a good time to buy an investment property? I don't know. But I know a lot of people think that, in any market, it's good to buy an investment property.
I think it all has to do with your relationship with money. I think a good, I don't, Mike, if you would agree, but a good rule of thumb is if like something personally happens to you where you lose $300, something went wrong, what is your emotional reaction to that? Are you strongly, like, does that really like upset you? Or is it kind of like, money's money? Because if it really upsets you, well, then guess what? Every investment you're going to do, not everyone, but like when you invest, their investment's going to go bad. And if you can't handle that, then you're more a risk averse person, which is fine. That's your personality. But you're not looking to like leverage yourself. You're not looking to put your investments like, oh, my margins has to be perfect, because you can't handle that. That's going to affect, then that's just like a healthy thing, like as far as you handling it.
Well, everybody's got their own risk tolerance. Some people are, much more aggressive than others, and that's fine. But as you said, people have to decide, what happens if, the tenant stops paying the rent. How am I going to handle this? And what happens if the property goes down 10 or 20% in the next 5 years? Is that going to affect the way I look at it? If you're a long-term person, then it shouldn't be a big deal. But that's
just
another thing to keep in mind.
Well, I mean, you got to have a trigger finger. Otherwise, all this conversation is just entertainment,
Right.
distraction.
Well, you do.
So,
I mean,
like,
you're right.
You got to decide if you're going to put the hand on the trigger, and
but if
it's right for you, and if you don't want to put the hand on the trigger, go join like the Peace Corps and just chill out.
Yeah, I guess the point is.
Join the Peace Corps.
Yeah, just relax.
If you're buying investments and it's long term, it doesn't matter what the market is
No,
because you're there for
exactly.
long term.
Yeah.
As
Right?
long as the
So-
as long as the cash flow works,
Right,
And
right.
that's
Yeah, but I think it's the mindset of people. You know, we're all in the industry and we all see it, but I think for the average person buying an investment property or buying a property in general, they might have more worry in their mind or more doubt, especially if they don't really know what the outcome might
Exactly,
be.
but
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to listen to this podcast, anything you read, and no one's going to be able to tell you, I know on March or whatever that this is where the market's going to be. That's impossible. What we do is we take factors and like, this is our best prediction
okay.
of
Now we're
what's going
saying
on.
subscribers leave.
Well-
Gosh,
Oh.
Okay, well,
Well, I mean, if you guys can find it that are listening, send me a link because I'll be on that in a second to make a bunch of money, right? But that's kind of like the reality of the situation.
What's up, Rich?
oh no, sorry, no,
Go ahead.
good. Keep going.
No, I'm just saying, like, look, a house is a place you need to live, and renting probably isn't the best solution because renting you're never fixed, right? And if you're trying to get security, how do you do that with you always have a moving rental thing? That said, I think Mike said you don't want to be you don't want to be having anything more than like 35% of your income going to your mortgage, and my advice is if you need a place to live, you feel comfortable with a mortgage, don't play this game thinking that I'll get in later for cheaper. I think it's unlikely. I think it's very unlikely.
fallacious.
Well, look, let's say this, though. The average person buying a home that needs a loan, right? They're putting down 5%. Let's just say they are. That mortgage on a $400,000 home is roughly probably $2,500. Okay? Think about the money you have to make. So that's $2,500. Let's say if you're living here, right?
400K house.
For a $400K house.
With
Taxes,
5% down.
insurance, everything. Possible HOA,
There you
right?
go.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of information there, right? So that's $5,000 with no debt, and that's at 50% debt ratio. So what does that tell you? That tells you the average person out there
Can't
or
afford.
people can't afford a $400,000 home unless they're making $7,000 a month, maybe $6,500. Or
find a good cocktail waitress at the Win. Damn it.
find a street.
But saying how,
Strategic.
but just saying how unfair it is isn't going to change it.
That
Is
is
my
how-
point.
Well,
Like,
I think it's reality, though. Like
pays their
we talk
taxes.
about mortgage broke. You're saying 35%. People have to put this in perspective. Like people coming from out of state, they are probably putting a large amount down, so their loan amount's a lot different. People that are living here, though, they got to face that reality. There's that, okay,
their socks
every
up.
month that I go by and these prices continue to go up,
Yeah, but if
I'm
you're-
going to need another person on the loan. I'm going to need another person to help me get into this house, possibly.
Like,
yeah, you're right. You're talking about the procedures, but
People are gonna stay
I don't
married
think that
longer.
changes the advice that you
Hopefully.
go to 50% of your
No, but I
mortgage.
think it adds skepticism as far as should I or shouldn't I, or what should I be buying a home at that price point? And now I'm going to push myself into a condo or say a smaller home, and now I got to sacrifice a little bit. And I think that's what I'm trying to
So
say.
add it up. Add it up. What is your income? Well, how much of that's going to the mortgage? If it's above 35%, like absolutely no way, and then you're gonna have to figure something else out. If it's not, you can buy it. What's the worst case scenario? The worst case is probably if your income goes down, then you got to sell. But you still made money or come out or wash, right? If it's close. But then two, if it gets really bad, guess what? Like, all right, if it gets that bad, it's bad for everybody, and you do what everybody does and just walk away
Well,
from the loan. I mean, that's the worst case scenario.
The,
and you
the
bankruptcy or
problem
whatever.
is the average median wage earner here in Las Vegas, even if you're saying
They don't
working
have-
at the strip, they're not going to be.
They don't have maneuverability.
They have not exactly, and
Unless
that's
they
where I
can-
was going. They got
Yeah.
no options, right?
But that's not going to change the prices. That's my point.
But I think what they're
no,
gonna have.
but it's go ahead.
Oh, no, I think what you're really going to see here is people are going to have to reconsider what they can get, and where it was like, well, I wanted that 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-story house with a backyard and maybe a swimming pool. Now I'm realizing I still want to buy, but I just can't afford it. And you're going to see a shift in people going, okay, well, I can't get the 3-bedroom house, but I can get the 2-bedroom condo, and if that's all I can get, that's what I'm going to go and get. And I do think that you're going to start seeing that here to some extent because we still have properties people can afford. They're just not what they wanted a year ago.
And then, Mike, what do you think? Because I think it makes a lot of sense to me if you're talking about that. I can't afford the house, but I can afford the condo, right?
At least right now. I mean, with the way
Yeah,
things
but-
have
But
changed.
and then couldn't you because you're making payments on low interest that's paying down the principal of the condo, right? And kind of converting that into, a bank of asset, and then kind of puts you at a different level at some other point, right?
Yeah, eventually.
I mean, I
if
don't
the
know,
price
Mike. What do you think?
appreciates enough over time.
Yeah,
but-
I think that's a great idea. Is buy something, something that you like, If you have to get into a condo, that's what you do. I mean, that's what a lot of people do in LA these days is they buy a condo.
Yeah, because that's what they kind of.
And eventually, maybe they'll be able to sell that and buy a house eventually. But
yeah, but I think it's going to push people out altogether at some point.
I mean,
it will, man. Not all buyers, but I think there's going to be, like you said, the average buyer we see today is not going to be around. There's going to be a new average buyer that's going to have to make and sustain a $3,000 mortgage payment if it keeps going that direction.
Probably.
Or we're going to start gentrifying bad parts of town.
Oh, that's going to happen for sure.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but that's one way people will be able to get properties they can afford because they're in less.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first rodeo for this American city. Like a lot of cities have been through this.
But it's only maybe our second. I mean, we haven't been around.
No, I'm just comparing to other cities, right? It's not like we're unique and no one's ever faced this.
No, but we're a much younger city than a lot of other cities. I mean,
that's
really
true.
are.
So it's kind of one of the first times to experience this.
Yes, I mean, we can go through things that other cities have gone through many times over, and like gentrifying gentrifying not such great areas.
I got a question for you guys.
Fremont Street's a great example. I mean, how many of those
Fremont,
places?
Look at it now.
It's a wonderful place now. Yeah,
I wouldn't go so far as wonderful,
but
if you're on drugs,
It depends on what wonderful is, right?
Only on Friday.
yeah.
So, Mike, I got a question. What do you do down there, man? I was just like,
well, I get one of those little circles.
Now.
And I go
First
to Angela
Fridays.
times.
First Fridays is the only day it's good.
hey, well, I think I'm going to have to hang out at Fremont this upcoming Friday just to
the
check it out.
container
Mike
park is
told me it's
great.
great down there, so I got to go check it out.
It is.
It's interesting
especially
seeing
at
how
2 a.m.
a lot
on
of the
Saturday.
the new buildings down there. My neighbor's got a restaurant down there. It's doing really well.
Well, I love that new
so-
casino too. I like that a big investor
Circa?
came in and
Oh, yeah.
actually,
I mean, Circa.
yeah, you can build something around. It's still got you go anywhere east of that street,
Yeah.
like immediately, like you're in like a whole other world.
But it's really amazing
Well, and then they got the
what's gone on down
federal
there. It's
courthouse.
just-
yeah.
oh yeah, I go there all the time.
They're kind of connecting downtown to the strip for the first time, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I got a question. Maybe real estate guys, maybe Dan can help me out. Because this was surprising to me. Because I always thought, as we build, what you're going to see is more suburbs kind of pop up in different kind of valleys, because that's what happens in other places. I was driving through Mesquite the other weekend, and I'm like, just checking out housing prices, because I'm like, this seems like you get like much more bang for your buck. And it was almost identical to Vegas.
Expensive.
Almost
Mesquite's
identical.
expensive.
I'm like, what?
They're like Mesquite is like more.
What's
I
up
think
with
it's
that?
more attractive.
Is
to
it a
prospective-
retirement thing?
It's just more scenic. It's less built up, and you don't have all that city and casino.
It's like a
and,
vacation.
So are there
less
people?
grind.
Yeah, I
it's
guess
very expensive.
retired or
Mesquite's
something. I didn't
expensive.
understand that.
A lot of them are. Yeah.
And you know what's crazy is I got a friend, man, that used to
That is
drive
crazy.
all the way down. Yeah, no, one friend that drove all the way down to Mesquite for the buffet. We shut down our buffets here, and apparently you go down to their buffet. It's an hour drive.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he's
to go to the Casablanca.
I mean, you got crab legs. You got all the top seafood. Like, he was like, hey, this is a Friday thing. Because he used to go to the buffets here all the time, and he couldn't do it. So he's like, you know what? Mesquite didn't shut down. So I think
you
that's
go.
the big perk right
They
there.
also have a really good
wow.
the Casablanca's like steakhouse is very good.
Oh yeah, Catherine's.
Don't get the oysters. I told my wife, no, like you don't order oysters in the middle of Mesquite, and I was right. Like, this is absolutely disgusting. So,
Oh, I thought they were fine.
maybe not.
But
Maybe
I just pour hot sauce on them and.
you can't taste it. Let you
There
go.
you go.
I'm just
All
like,
right,
we're
so
not in the ocean.
let's talk
here.
about one last thing here. I want to talk with Mike because we got to shut this down. We're running out of time, guys, and thank everybody for your. If you're have not hit that like button, please do that. Also subscribe if you have not
1,000
subscribed.
guys.
We need 1,000. Like I said, we're 701 away. I think right 700.
We got to do something big for the 1,000.
All right. So let's talk about. Mike has an article that he wants to bring up on Social Security and how this has actually changed and how it might affect you. So, Mike, I want you to kind of take the floor here and tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so in the headline in the Wall Street Journal today says Social Security costs expected to exceed total income in 2021 as COVID-19 takes a financial toll. So what that means is they're paying out more in benefits than they're taking in. And
Through the IRS or the federal
Social
government?
Security is paying more benefits. than
Is
they
that the
take in.
entire federal government? Or
No,
talking
just
about
the Social
Security?
Security. And, they have this, quote, trust fund which is going to be completely depleted a year earlier now in 2034, which is not that far away. That's pretty scary. And, you know,
It's like a whole lifetime.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean,
13 years, that's not too far.
well, here's the deal, man. No, everybody that's what is it? I heard there was like an article that came out that said anybody that's like a millennial, they don't have opportunity for even us, like Generation X or anybody that's in that age group, that they're not going to have any opportunity for Social Security, right?
It won't be there.
Not until we pass some sort of law that changes that.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried. Well, what's going to happen to my Social Security? I don't think that they'll actually end up cutting benefits for existing people. But they really need to change it because the math just doesn't work. You know, if there's not enough people paying in, you know, how can you keep paying these benefits? It just doesn't make any sense.
They've got the print machine.
They could lift the cap.
They could lift the cap, but is that fair to the people who aren't going to make any more money?
Life's not fair.
That's the reason for the cap.
Well, here's the thing. Most of us, well, not say most of us, but most people don't make more than the cap. So they're paying the full percentage they're saying the full pop of their income. So why do people who make more than that get away with,
Because they don't get any extra benefit on the Social Security.
yeah, but they make so much more money. Maybe they should be contributing more to it.
Well, it's easy with other people's money, I guess.
Yeah, but I just, just in your, it's just if you make less than 100 and you're paying 15% of your income into it, or 6.5% depending on,
right,
or 9%, I guess, excuse me, for everything.
Well, let me ask you this question. So
it'd be a way to raise more money.
You're still getting Social Security is still getting taken out, right? And yet they know it's going to cancel. So when does that stop?
Well, it's not going to cancel. But the problem is in 2034, they're not going to have enough money to pay the full benefit. Now, I bet you in 2034, Congress will be getting together and say, well, we'll make that full. Because what's going to happen?
Is that going to keep putting more debt in circulation?
Oh, yeah.
It has to be, right?
Congress doesn't care.
We are never, ever going to pay off. Balance the budget.
You also
never
know
going to happen.
A large part of our national deficit is money that we've stolen from our Social Security trust fund to spend on other things.
Yeah, and that's been happening for decades.
Yeah. So we owe them something like, I don't know, 6 trillion, 7 trillion.
Who does? I don't.
Well, the federal government owes the Social Security Administration.
Yeah. So that's why I did air quotes.
That sounds kind of funny because you're talking about
fund.
2 U.S. government agencies,
right? But they're taking money from people who are, talking about taking people's retirement income to pay for things that Congress didn't have enough money to pay for.
It's kind of interesting because I don't know about your generation or your generation, but I'm just making a joke. But
I'm like, I think I'm in your generation.
Like ever since I, you get a paycheck, you notice in the stub that what they're taking taxes out, right? Federal tax, Social Security, blah blah blah. It's always just been like one tax in my mind, and never have I know what Social Security is, obviously, but never have had this idea that I'm paying into a system that's going to pay me back. I don't think millennials look at it like that. I think it's just a tax. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. I think when it first
Do you think the average millennial out there really knows about the Social Security?
They don't care.
They don't. I don't think they really care.
That's my point. Like this generation isn't looking at this thing like, yes, I'm paying into this when I get 65, whatever it is, I get money. It never crosses my mind. I'm just kind of assumed that's not going to happen. Or if it does, it's not going to be a lot. It's not something I bank on.
The only reason I know about it is because my parents bring it up, or somebody that's older than me in an older generation. I'm not saying that I don't watch it, but I don't even bring it up because right, Mike? That's the problem, though. It is a problem because people think like, well, I'm not entitled to this, and my ancestors before me had it, so now it's not a big deal. So
and that's the point, because when did they do that? 40s or 30s, right? And they told everybody then this is like your retirement nest.
30
but we know that even when you get it, it's pennies. So it's not something that I'm thinking. I'm not going to live off Social Security. Like nobody thinks like that. The millennial.
Well, and that's a good point. Is it was designed to supplement about 40% of your income. So my point was, hey, that was a really good time to start that Roth IRA.
I was going to get to that. Because again, it's the point.
You need to be responsible for yourself.
We got to take it in our own hands. Yeah. I sincerely doubt that Social Security is going. So
but you know what?
Call Mike.
The one thing that I think maybe a lot of people aren't seeing about it is that if or when it runs out, not the fact that you're not going to get it, but what it's going to do to our economy when it stops being pumped out to millions.
Which is
of
why they won't let her stop.
They won't, because seniors are a voting bloc that, just can't be matched.
Because that money goes right back into our economy.
Oh, it certainly does.
Maybe we could just put them on like a big island or something.
Well, I mean, what's happening right now is the federal government is making up that extra money, from the trust
I read
fund.
this book. There's this author that's quite funny, and he came up with it's a satirical book, and what they should do is they should offer a tax credit for voluntary transitioning, so that if you, instead of being a burden to Social Security, your children get a tax credit, and you just do euthanasia and call it a day, and that'll fix the problem.
I might have
What?
read that book.
Carl Hyacin.
Yes, because
are we going to sign you up?
The audio book.
It's very funny.
Is Matt signing up
That
for
wasn't
this
my
then?
idea.
No, okay.
I'm going to wait till I'm 60 to pull the trigger.
There you go.
All right, let's end this show, guys.
Don't get
I'm going to
old.
go around the room
There we
real
go.
quick. You guys just give a shout out, see how you guys can get a hold of what you do, and you know what I mean. What are you doing over there, Matt?
What am I doing here? What do you mean? Like how to get in touch with me?
Yeah, man. People want to know how do
Yeah.
how do you work with Matt Shield?
Well, just call me up. 702-336-4635.
Just not if you're a cocktail waitress.
Because you're Matt Shield. You remember that song that said was
He's
like
saving
it
his
was that
energy.
Mike Jones song? He's like, my name's Mike Jones. Here's my number.
Oh, no, don't do that.
That's what it said.
No. So anyway,
No, but how about you, man? So how about over here, Rich? What's up, buddy?
Hey.
So how does somebody get a hold of you?
Okay, so I'm Rich Salas.
Yes.
I've got a great handle for our website. It's www.attorneylasvegas.com.
Wow.
Excellent.
That's a good one.
That's good.
that was a good domain you snapped.
I don't know how they get
How
a
did you
hold
get
of
that?
That was like
Dragon
the one
Law,
good
but
thing we ever did.
how do you get a hold of Dragon Law Group?
That's on Rich's hat.
Yeah,
I know.
DragonLawGroup.com, jdragon at dragonlawgroup.com. Yeah, estate planning, business transactions, business litigation. And, it's kind of one of the things that I do is have a network of attorneys I know, and Rich being one of them and stuff, because we all have our own specialty that can help. So I talking to guys like Rich all the time. So I guess that point is we can help you, either Rich or me, and just give us a call. And I don't know. What do you got, Mike?
Oh,
Save Social Security. Go.
yeah, exactly. Save yourself. That's what you need to do. Yeah, you can find me at peakfinancialsolutions.com, where I got a better URL than Rich does. Bestfinancialadvisorintheuniverse.com. Yeah.
Wow.
Don't tell my compliance
You gotta have
department.
like a commercial like that or something.
Esmeralda, what are you doing after the show? Because you seem like you've been ready to get out of this room. She's got one foot in, 1 foot out
I just
right
have
now.
to take care of some reports.
Oh,
for
I
work.
see.
Oh, yeah.
So I have
Well,
to leave. It's the end of the month.
unfortunately-
for a title.
yeah.
So
It's that time of the month.
the
Unfortunately,
end of the month for title. escrow.
Yeah, that's what I was
It's
saying.
like a big
time
deal.
of the end of the month.
Yeah, so I have to.
unfortunately, I have to do more video editing and more video after this is done. So Esmeralda's gonna have to stick around and help me with doing the video. So you okay with that, Esmeralda?
I guess. I was just saying yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I just have to stay up.
She doesn't have a choice. So.
No choice.
All right, guys, we're going to end the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you
Thank
guys have
you.
not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We want it to grow. We're trying to hit 1,000.
Hit the like button.
Everybody hit the like button. We need the support. We need the help.
Yes.
We'll be back here Tuesday.
Hit the report
hey,
button.
everybody
Oh, no.
here, please call them if you need their services. We're here and we want to help you. And we'd be honored to help you with anything that you guys might need. So it's Dan French, and we'll see you at the next stream on Saturday. French Workbench Podcast. Talk to you then. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench Podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.